What is up, everybody? We are back. We got another episode of Commercial Roofing Radio. We got my man Bryan Mitchell in the building. Dude, where are you at? What's going on over here, man? Where are you hanging out? Are you hiding out right now, or what's going on here?
Yeah, I am. I'm in the witness protection program. I've got a large roll of toilet paper behind me, and I'm ready.
All right. Well, hey, if you have any issues, just keep blinking your eyes rapidly, okay? And we'll get the signal. We'll get you out of there, okay?
Isn't there a hand sign I can use? I saw something.
Well, hey, for those of you who don't know who Bryan Mitchell is, this man is a master of his craft, and he's a fun dude to hang out with. So we're going to share a lot of great information, specifically on service departments, right? And how to build it, how to be successful with it, what that really looks like. So there's going to be a lot of great nuggets you're actually going to be able to take away from this conversation, implement in the business. And he's, the guy is pretty ridiculous. I got to have dinner with you and Ryan a few weeks ago, and I was like, I got to bring him on here. He is fun to hang out with. You sailed here, right, with your wife from South Africa. You are a big Miami Dolphins fan. You were the vice president of a very large commercial roofing company where you really built out that service department there. You have a background in commercial estimating softwares. I mean, you got the course now with Ryan Groth and Sales Transformation Group on how to build out the sales department. So you're a guy that's been there, done that, and now you're giving back. So we always push with our lead program that we do for contractors. You have to be open to service. So you're going to be my favorite guy because you're going to bring so much good information. I can't wait, my man. But how we doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
No, excellent. Thank you. I'm up in North Carolina at the moment, um, and loving it. Mountain biking.
So are you still working then, or what's your deal?
Yeah, yeah. I coach the clients. In fact, I've been on with two or three today. Got some really nice stories that happened just today that we can talk about later with roofers who've never had a service program in their business, a service division. One of the young guys sold a $12,000 service ongoing maintenance agreement yesterday. First one ever, and we kind of talked him through it. It was fun.
That's
Um,
awesome, man.
yeah.
That's cool. So before we go too deep into this, because a lot of the conversation, like I said, is going to be on the service side, and this is going to be a master class, if you will. But before any of this was possible, we talk about, hey, how did you get into roofing and stuff like that? How did you sail here to America? Tell me about that one.
So I was trying to go to Australia, and I turned right instead of left at the Cape of Good Hope, also known as the Cape of Storms. And so that meant I didn't have a whole lot of options but America.
And that's how you ended up to America by mistake. And now we're dealing
So
with you.
yeah, yeah, no, it's almost as bad as that story because I raced across the Atlantic. I was a sailboat captain for 5 years or so, maybe more, and
Wow.
we were trying to decide where to go next. We spent 6 months going up and down the South American coast just sailing. It was awesome. Um, I meet a guy in a pub. We go through the Caribbean. I'm talking to this guy in a pub in St. Thomas, and we're having a beer. And he says, "Where are you going?" I said, "Miami." And he said to me, "No, don't go to Miami. Go to Fort Lauderdale. You go on the outside of the Bahamas, cut through the Northeast Passage, and Fort Lauderdale's right there. And a few other stories happened in between, but we ended up in Fort Lauderdale for like 30 years. So be careful of who you have a beer with. It's
And then that's how you became a Miami Dolphins fan then, hey?
yeah, yeah, that's the only option you had. In those days, it was Dan Marino, so it had a lot of promise. My poor son, who was born in Fort Lauderdale, has had to continue to be a Miami Dolphins supporter.
So,
And
but hold on, last year they actually had an all right season. The defense looked good. I think they went on a big winning streak. I don't remember right for sure, but I think they went on a big
yeah,
winning streak,
7 in a row or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
7 in a row. They added a lot of pieces. They get Tyreek Hill, so you have wide receivers. They added running backs. It seems like they have everything except maybe the quarterback. What's your predictions for the season?
I think it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Our third string quarterback won the first preseason game. Isn't that a good sign?
Yeah, preseason. Preseason is always a big deal. It's always a promising start when you win those games.
So, look, I've got a backup. I support Manchester City, and
Ah,
they 2-0. So we got the Premier League as a backup in case the Dolphins let us down.
I love it. I love it, man. So you end up in Florida by accident, right? What brought you into the commercial roofing world?
Yeah, so I think, like most guys that get into roofing, you either, uh, you know, out of a job or recently released from prison or one of those things, and I was both. Um, I got hired into an estimating software company, quite well known, Estimating Edge. Um, Actually became the general manager there before I left, and but during that time helped a lot of roofers with their estimating, and I actually used to estimate for roofers because to try and show in those days, 25, 30 years ago, showing someone that you can do it on a computer was new. So I would actually run estimates for them. I remember there's a company in Southern California that used to FedEx me blueprints to do
Wow.
estimates for them. But they bought the system. They bought several systems. So that's how I got into it. I had to estimate. We had to train a guy to use that software in 2 days. So that was a lot of pressure.
Wow.
And but I met a lot of roofers through that. And one of them that I installed the software for was a guy who lived down the street from me. And he was a friend. I didn't want to let him down, so I'd pop in there on Saturdays to make sure we had his database set up, for the estimating software. And when I left this software company, he found out and he said, "Hey, why don't you come and work for me?" And that was Greg Wallach at Best Roofing. So we had a relationship for several years already, where he was actually a client of mine. I was helping him, and then we got into the roof. I got into a newly bought company. He had just bought Best Roofing, and so got in there sort of on the ground floor.
And then where did that go? I mean, that's a story in itself.
Yeah, no, that was really amazing. I mean, as you mentioned, we've got this service training course now that we teach people. We've got about 80 odd clients, and fortunately, it's been really successful. I don't think it's a coincidence. We just, operating on the principles and giving the guys the details on what they should do as they grow. Um, but most of what I teach, I learned in those early days when we were setting up the service industry, the service business. We had one truck, we went to two, we went to three. When I left that company, there were about 34, and the operation was divided into about five different areas. Um, but the principles are the same. That you can have one truck and you can have 20 trucks, and it's not more complicated. It might be a little more complex, but it's the same principles.
Hmm. So as a company, you guys grew it to, I think it was roofing top 100 list, right? I think that the company at one point won Commercial Roofing Contractor of the Year from Roofing Magazine. And if I'm wrong, you can let me know. But I know that you guys had a lot of success. Was the growth like, hey, right away, let's focus on that service side? You guys knew that was the answer, or was it figuring it out through trial and error and stumbling upon things?
Yeah, no, it was absolutely. And during that time, they went through, a little recession. When I actually left the company, I ended up traveling around the world to about 55 different countries, helping organizations grow in different countries. But yeah, so it was going up, it went down and back up again. And, I always have said to Greg, he's got that song, um, I fall down, but I must get up, or whatever it is.
Yeah. The promise can't keep me down. I get knocked down. I get up again.
Yeah,
You're never gonna
yeah.
keep me down.
It's a good soccer song too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's done a brilliant job. I mean, he's a process-driven guy, and but what really blew me away is the processes that we drew up in the early 2000s are the same processes they're running the business with now. Obviously, it's more complex. It's a much bigger company. One of the sales guys still works off one of the spreadsheets that I built in the early 2000s. It was funny when I opened it up. It's got 2000 and whatever 4 or 5. Bryan is the author.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the exciting thing about that is if if you are process driven, if you can focus on having your processes in place, you can run a small business or you can scale it to a bigger business.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of look at it in two ways in the course is you've got process, which is how you run the business. And then you've got this foundation and structure is where do I start and what's critical for building the business up. And we try to cover those two things with the guys we work with, and it's working well.
So Brian, I've been in this space for a while. I have residential side of the company. I feel like I've developed the commercial side, and we're still kind of getting going, but it's getting more consistent. Everywhere I go, everyone tells me I have to do service. Why should I do service?
The name speaks for itself, right? You serve, and quite frankly, the more you serve, the more you get. Right? It's kind of the more you give, the more you get. It's these are principles again. Looking at the growth of roofing companies during the last recession, the guys with service businesses all grew. They like doubled their service businesses. And as they came out of that recession, when the money was freed up, they doubled their re-roofing side. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason for that is you become a trusted partner. And if I approach you and I say, listen, um, I talk about this quite a lot. In my opinion, there are only three reasons that a roof leaks. It's act of God, you know, endless sun, rain, wind, all the rest of it. Act of idiot, which
Mm-hmm.
is people dropping stuff on the roof, finding bullets, all those kind of things, and lack of maintenance. And maintenance takes care of all three. So if you've got a service business and you can maintain a roof, you've got an opportunity to extend the life of that roof for 10 or 15 years for your client. Now, if our average re-roof was like $350,000. So if I can say to you, Nick, I'm going to keep, you know, more than half of that in your pocket for 10 or 15 years longer than the next guy, I'm a valued asset to your organization, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a partner. That's so. Um, Interestingly enough, we've been doing this for years as a society. We've changed the oil in our cars. HVAC business have maintenance agreements and service agreements going on like crazy. We have our teeth cleaned every 6 months. I mean,
Yep.
it's
100%.
for some reason the roofing industry's been behind on this. And if you think of the re-roofing business, if I re-roof commercial roof, when do I next talk to that guy? In 25 years when it's time for another re-roof?
Decades later.
However, yeah, if I'm servicing it, I probably speak to him several times a year. And so I've got a relationship. I'm top of mind. He's going to refer me. If I do a good job, I'm going to get the other properties. It's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. So what does the the presentation look like then? So when you have service maintenance, what does that conversation look like the first time you're talking about talking to a prospect about the solutions and what you have to offer them?
Yeah. So I think the first message you've got to get across to, let's just say it's a building owner, right? Let's just talk about that. A property manager, same thing. But the first message that I've got to get across is that your roof, like me, is aging every day, right? So, first of all, what do they say? The first thing that goes, there are two things that you lose as you age. The first one is your memory, and I don't remember what the second one is. But, your eyes go dim, your hair goes gray. You need a walking stick, a hearing aid, and then the diapers come on. And this is basically what's happening to a roof. And so the guy, your building owner, has to understand that in order to extend the life and get the full life out of his roof. In fact, his manufacturer's warranty says he needs a maintenance agreement and they need to keep records. Just about 90% of the roofing manufacturers say that. So uh, he should be doing this, and it just makes sense. You can have a 20-year NDL warranty, but if you look at the spec sheets for sealants, it says you're going to get 5 to 8 years out of them. So
Mm-hmm.
it's right there in black and white. Your roof is going to leak if you don't maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we just got to get that. I actually wanted to send each roof a birthday card because I wanted the owner to realize this year my roof is now
That's a good idea.
15 years old. It's just something to keep there, and they never go up there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many presentations I've done to owners with a picture of their roof, and it's like they spend most of the time looking at that front cover page.
Yeah.
This is. Yeah. So we got to get into that conversation about your roof is aging, and we want to keep it healthy for as long as possible. And then there's a short window before you get too much moisture infiltration and your um, insulation starts getting saturated and that sort of thing. There's a short window that you can do a restoration, which
Mm-hmm.
would be like a reskinning or torching a cap sheet or nowadays a coating. And now you've got a 10 or 15-year extension of the life of that roof. So it's a short message, and with a good graphic, you can really put yourself in a position where you're an asset protection manager. You're not a roofing salesperson or a service salesperson. We're
Mm-hmm.
protecting your asset.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense. So Brian, I'm interested in the maintenance program. So is it look? Do you just come take some pictures once a year, or what is it? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, so, well, a couple of things. First of all, most roofs have not been maintained, right? So if I want to maintain a roof, I'm going to have to get it into some kind of maintainable condition. I'm going to have to do all the back maintenance that they skipped. So, what I like to do is I'd like to sit down with a client and say, listen, we can extend the life of your roof. We can maintain it with an annual or biannual visit. Um, and you will get the benefit of keeping that money in your pocket. But in order for us to even consider putting you on a maintenance program, we're going to have to get the roof into, we're going to have to do your back maintenance. We're going to have to get the roof into a maintainable condition. So I mentioned earlier, I've got this young guy that sold his first maintenance contract yesterday, sorry. I spoke to him today.
That's great.
$12,000 ongoing maintenance agreement. First one he ever sold, first one his company ever sold, big company. Um, but what it came with was this is your maintenance agreement, that's your annual fee, and here's the scope of work, what we have to do to get this roof up to a maintainable condition first. So there are a couple of ways of skinning that cat. You can do the quoted scope of work and say your next maintenance payment will be in 6 months or a year's time, and that's renewable. And then you monitor it. And I can tell you, when we started this, I was nervous. I was tracking, you know, how often do these roofs leak if they're under maintenance? Really, they don't. Now, of course, there's still acts of God and acts of idiot that could, but
Mm-hmm.
those are excluded in your contract. Um, but you want to be up there often enough that those issues aren't things that have just stay undone, undone for years. And that's what's happening on most roofs. People aren't up there and checking on it. And you need a roofer up there. You need someone who knows what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, I say a roofer. We trained young, hardworking, intelligent, nice people how to inspect roofs. You
Mm-hmm.
don't, um, but you need to be trained to do that. How many things can be wrong with a typical TPO roof? You
Mm-hmm.
know, 20 or 30. They may show up in 100 different ways, but there are probably 12 products that I need to fix them. It's not that complicated if you boil it down. The
Mm-hmm.
NRCA has done a great job of that with their repair manual. They break it down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now, for you, you got it up to the point where the company had, 30 plus trucks. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Now, let's say I'm just getting the service department going. It, do I start to view service as almost its own vertical or company in a way, kind of where they operate a little bit differently, or how does that all mesh together?
Yeah, I absolutely. It is a different cat. Your re-roof program is different to your service program.
Mm-hmm.
Your re-roof sales are different to your service sales. So it's a division of a roofing company, and it has to be run as a division. For a service company to do $1 million in service, you're going to need about 20 leads a week coming in that you can actually deliver contracts on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a there's a whole marketing component that's critical, and
Mm-hmm.
service is very relational, right? We Not only because you on the roof multiple times, but the service industry is very relational. You look at property managers. I hope I don't offend a property manager when I say this, but they're like party animals. They're like 5 events a week.
Oh
that
yeah.
um, and then they're golf tournaments, and then they're fishing tournaments. So you need to be engaged. I prefer to see people on the committees, so that they're in a position of, it's not authority, but of advice, where they can be advising people and be looked up at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. So now let's say with this service side of things, how are you making sure that you're leveraging that to create those opportunities? Is there a process that should follow to make sure that they're maximizing each relationship that they're servicing and creating that down the funnel replacement opportunity?
Yeah. So, if you think about a service company that's doing, a couple of thousand transactions a year, that's that's a lot of business. You don't do that in re-roofing. You're not doing a couple of
Mm,
thousand. So, um, so we're talking about a lot of transactions that you have to manage and a lot of relationships that you have to manage. And so metrics is critical. And your first metric is, how many leads are we getting in? And the second one is, how many of those leads are qualified enough for us to follow up to do a proposal? Because you may have a great marketing campaign. You might be getting 100 leads a week, but only five of them you're going to visit, because the rest are, somebody's house, or some lean-to over a gas station, or something along
mm-hmm.
those lines.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be watching it. And I actually built a calculator so that we can sit down and say, okay, you want a $2 million roofing business. Let's look at what your gross margin is going to be. Let's look at your gross profit per labor hour critical number. Let's look at your closing ratio goal, and we can tell you how many leads you need, how many trucks you need, how many salesmen you need, how many techs you need.
Wow.
So you can do this in theory and then back into it, but you got to be tracking. And I recommend a 4 week rolling average of all of your metrics,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can see your trends. Because it's great to have a great week and you think I'm in good shape, but your trend is down. you know, you need to be realistic about it.
So for a new prospect that you might be selling service to, Uh, is it just a service tech that pretty much just goes out there, or is it a sales rep that goes and builds a relationship, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're thinking of getting into the service business, which is I think is more or less what you're asking me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is um, I look at it as a pyramid, a triangle. It sits most comfortably on its base. If you try to put it on its peak, it's going to fall over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the base of your pyramid would be a good technician who knows how to fix a leak. If you don't have that, you can't be in the business because if you don't effectively solve a problem for someone, you'll be called back and there goes your margin and then you won't ever be called back again.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to start with the realistic fundamentals. Um, so we start with that production capability. Then I think the next thing you've got to do, the beautiful thing about service is there are only, five products that you're going to be selling. You're going to have time
Mm-hmm.
and material, quoted scope of work, probably ongoing maintenance, maybe some warranty work, and then some tenant upfit, tenant build out type of work.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get those definitions down. Let's understand them. Let's have everybody in the company understand them. And then your next thing is estimating, which is what you were referring to. Um, and like I mentioned, you get on a TPO roof, so you got 20 or 30 things that could be wrong with it. Let's pre-estimate them. We know what we're going
Mm-hmm.
to run into,
Mm-hmm.
and that way we don't need an experienced roofer up there. We can have a sales guy doing that inspection with a unit price list, can put a proposal together and deliver that as a sale. So um, obviously you need training. You can't just take a brand new guy, throw him up on the roof and say, tell me what's wrong with it. You're going to teach them about roofing. You're going to teach, but they don't have to fix roofs to be able to sell service.
Mm-hmm.
And then we unit price, so they can put a proposal together. I actually pre-write the definition of the problem and the solution again because we know what we're going to run into.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, so that's I don't know if I answered your
No,
question effectively.
that does.
Okay, good.
No, that does for sure. What about, I know you spent time in the software space. What about in terms of softwares? Is there anything that you suggest, whether it's a brand name or just a type of software that you think commercial contractors or people trying to get into service need to be utilizing?
Yeah. Now, I a, a very good friend of mine. I was the best man at his wedding. Um, is Eric Harmon, who was the only developer of the estimating edge for 30 years, and that's a strong re-roof estimating software.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got together and we put together a service software package called Contractor Toolbox. It's this part of it is the service toolbox. Um, I feel like you have to have a software package because of the volume that you're working with. It's hard to run volume without some kind of software.
Mm-hmm.
So we designed the software around the course basically and around building a service company. So that's one of them that's out there. There are guys who've been out there for a long time. Dataformer is still out there. There are a couple of new guys that, yeah, but it's not really a crowded space,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to be able to manage your leads, manage your properties, manage your buildings, manage your roof systems, and then put together ongoing maintenance programs all in the same software package, and that includes estimating and proposals. And so that's if you can understand how to run a system that does all of those things, it can now it's scalable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, realistically though, if you're starting the service side of things, how long does it take to get to that point where you have all the software implemented, you have the people trained, everything like that? Like, I think whenever you're doing something new with the business, it's nice to have some kind of like realistic expectations on timeline of how long that would take.
Yeah. So, the first thing you're going to want to do is obviously get an understanding of your marketing side.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the leads going to come from? And so now we can actually use our existing people or even a sub to do the initial work, the initial repairs as we start. If you're starting bootstrap from scratch, um, and I would start with a truck. So what if you can't afford to get a truck to get started, sub it or use your existing guys, some of your existing pickups. But as soon as you can have enough work going to get one truck going, then let's get that truck
Mm-hmm.
productive and let's try. You can pull um, $600,000 out of one service truck if you manage it correctly. So that's already quite a nice little business. You probably at a 60% gross margin. You've got some good money coming in from that. And now the thing is technicians, like I said, that foundation, right? So that first truck hopefully is producing an assistant technician who's going to be able to run the second truck or be the assistant with the new guy running the second truck. It's like rice on a checkerboard kind of thing. So internal training is important. Um, so I would say in the first 6 months, we could look at getting one truck up and running and profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And so within a year, I'd say you could comfortably have two trucks going. But, and the big but is, do we have the leads coming in? If we've done our homework and our techs know what they're doing, and we know how to price and sell, we've pre-estimated, um, so we can execute. And if we've got the administrators who can invoice, which most companies have, now we just need leads.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what about differentiators? How have you seen contractors you work with really differentiate themselves in comparison to the competition?
Yeah. So one of I think a smart thing to do, the, a lot of your business can come from a property might have an existing roofer they work with. And when you get a major rain event or um, a hail event or a storm, a lot of these roofers can't keep up with their existing clients and they don't have a service business to really do it. So if you can set yourself up with your first truck that's equipped with everything you need to fix a roof, you can be Johnny on the spot when somebody's in trouble and you can pick up new clients, during a crisis. Um, I think it's important to have a decent service truck that allows you to move from one place to the next and do a repair without having to go back to the shop or to go to a supplier to get materials and equipment. So
Mm-hmm.
to be quick on your feet. Um, and then, like anything, communication is key, right? If people have a problem on their roof, they want to know
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. When are you coming? Are you there? Is it done? Is it, you know, well done? um,
Yep.
so having a good way to communicate with them as you're building it. And then, like any other business, a lot of sales is people buy from people they like. So you go in and you give, you serve. And if you're serving, you're probably going to, you know, you're going to go a long way.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I agree with that. Now, what about you mentioned leads when you're just talking, and my question is how did you get to the point where you were able to have 30 trucks, right? Stay busy. Where did the leads come from? How did you get enough leads? How did the leads scale to that point?
Yeah, it's funny when uh, I remember the first meeting I had getting hired.
Yeah.
Um, I was told afterwards that I asked the question 5 times, where do the leads come from?
Yeah.
Um, because, and we were in South Florida, you can get leads from a storm event, right? You can have a hurricane come through, you got more leads than you can handle.
Absolutely.
So you got to set up a way of marketing. It doesn't have to be expensive. In fact, I think most roofing companies are successful because the owners have had a vision, they've got a way of doing business that's made them successful. So, really, all you need is somebody to tell your story. It can be a recent marketing graduate. You can use interns. Colleges love interns to have real life experience, work experience. And for a roofing company that's doing service, you can use interns to, because all you need is the word to be out that you do service. There's so many roofers that don't, and so many people I still run into who say to me, I can't get anybody to come out. So get the word out that you do service and then follow up and get it done. Did I answer your question? I might have got off on a track there.
Should I do service or what? What do you think? Should I do service? I got to let people know that I do service. Not only should I do service, but you got to make sure that those people know about it. My man. So let's just say, hey, if you're a roofing contractor out there right now, service or not service related, what advice do you have for guys out there who are, out battling day to day?
Well, first of all, there's this supply crisis, right? Not enough supplies. And I look at that and I think, man, what a great opportunity for service.
Sure.
Because now you got these roofs that should be replaced, but there's no materials to replace them. That means they probably leak. That means they probably need a service company out there keeping them dry. Um, re-roofing can be an ugly game of the low bid wins, right? Unless you've got a relationship with that building owner who maybe owns multiple buildings, property manager who manages multiple buildings. If you've got a relationship with them through a service business where you've served them really well, you've got a good chance of getting a last look, of being in a situation to negotiate your work. And that's really where you want to be. Construction can be an ugly, hard business, and especially when you get into sort of the general contractor type space, it's competitive, it's tight, people are almost only making money on your mistakes, as opposed to service, where now you're providing a service, you're helping somebody out, and you've got a great place for a good margin there.
I love it. Well, hey, so we're gonna transition into a game here, and then after that, we'll close it out where you get to leave the audience with maybe a book suggestion, a quote, life lesson, some wisdom just to kind of leave them with. But before we do the game, Bryan, hey, what's the best way to get a hold of you? If they're interested in the course or maybe some of the software, whatever it might be, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I'm not shy to hand out my cell phone number.
I got it, so maybe I'll just give it to everybody.
Yeah, just
No,
go for it.
I'm messing with you.
Because it's easy to reach me that way. Nowadays texts and phone calls are the way. Of course, I've got an email address as well. But my cell phone number is 954-268-6938. And don't worry, you will not bother me because I just won't answer if I'm busy mountain biking.
I love it, man. I think all he does is mountain bike, and I thought he was joking about giving out his cell phone number. So I love that you can hit him up. Remember, he lives in the East Coast, right? So make sure no matter where you are, you're calling him real late at night. All right, making sure you're waking him up about questions about service. All right, because
we had this whole we had this discussion about old age. So I'm in bed by 7. That means my phone is in the car.
Oh, I love it, man. Oh, hey there. You come here often? I feel like I see you every Wednesday. And, you definitely caught my eye. I'll tell you one thing. You know how to stand out from a crowd. You already got a lot of great things going for you. I see your company. I see what you got going on. I want to be part of it. How about I give you my number and you send me a text? 720-796-4935. Hey, yeah, it's Nick, right? Peakleads.io. I think we can help you generate some commercial roofing leads. Looking forward to chatting. Talk soon. All right, so we're going to transition into who wants to be a roofing millionaire. Okay, so it's going to be questions about, things that we think are related to you. And you have two lifelines. So you have the 50-50. So basically, it'll remove two of the wrong answers, leaving you with a 50% chance of getting it correct. And then we have a phone a friend. So you can call one person, but if they don't pick up, you lose the lifeline.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh, this could be hard.
So you have a condo in Fort Lauderdale.
I do.
What movie was not filmed there? Is it A, Waterboy, B, Rock of Ages, C, Caddyshack, or D, Marley and Me?
I have no clue, but it's got to be Waterboy.
Dang, that's right. It's A, Waterboy. Well
Yeah.
done. Well
I mean,
done.
what? They're not going to do any football movie in Florida, right?
Oh, yeah. Hey, football, I mean, I feel like high school football, though, it's pretty much what? Texas and Florida. That's kind of like the states.
That that's true.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So we heard you're into sports like, mountain biking, woodwork, golf, you like windsurfing. In what state do you think windsurfing was first originated in 1948? Is it A, California, B, Florida, C, Pennsylvania, or D, Oregon?
Well, I would have thought it was started on a lake somewhere. Why are these guys in the ocean with us? Um, so let's. Uh, I got to say Oregon.
Unfortunately, that's incorrect. It's C, Pennsylvania. Interesting, hey?
I thought it had to be one of the outliers. I chose the wrong one.
The roots of windsurfing started 60 years ago in Susquehanna River, Pennsylvania.
Oh, so it was inland. I should get half a point.
Yep. So no, you still got that wrong. So we're gonna mark you wrong in that one. All right.
Okay.
All right. So hey, I'm really gonna put you on the spot here. You've been a major part of sales transformation group for a while. Let me test your knowledge, your company knowledge here. We're gonna go with the core values. Okay?
So if I get two wrong, I'm out, right?
We're just gonna keep you rolling. We're saying, for you, I know there's special circumstances here, so we're gonna just keep you rolling, okay? No matter
Yeah,
what.
special needs is more.
So, all right, which one is not a core value of sales transformation group? Is it A, efficiency, B, greater purpose, C, excellence, or D, connected?
It's probably efficiency.
Yeah, that's right. Man, look at you. I thought you were going to get that one wrong. I'm impressed. Nice work.
I was looking at the vision statement on my other computer.
Ah, look at that. Look at that. I like it. All right. I'll give it to you. I like it. All right. So you're living in North Carolina now. Which person or which famous person is not from North Carolina in this list? Is it A, Andy Griffith, B, Maya Angelou, B, Billy Graham, or D, James Brown?
So who are those people?
That's the question, I guess. So if you don't know any of them, I guess it's really just a toss up, right?
So in North Carolina, they have the Billy Graham Center, right?
Yeah.
So I've got to say it's Billy Graham. He's not from here.
Mm-hmm. So he is from North Carolina, surprisingly. Oh my gosh! All right, well, hey, you know what? We're gonna go to the next one here. Okay, we're gonna go to a South Africa question. All right?
Do I ever lose in this game? I mean, I'm like a perpetual winner.
I think
just
you
keep
are
going.
the biggest loser go by. I've never had someone who intentionally try to lose, and so there's a first time for everything.
If it's a South African question, it must involve elephants and rhinos, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not. Unfortunately, it's
Oh,
how many
okay.
colors are in the flag. Do you know how many colors are on the flag?
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, hang on a minute. One,
Oh,
two,
yeah,
3, 4, 5, 6. I would say 6.
that's right. How did you know that? That's pretty good.
I got the flag hanging up on my wall.
Wow, you're very resourceful. Dumb, but resourceful.
This is how we live so long, Nick.
Oh man, this guy. Hey, well, this guy can't hang out much longer. He's locked up. So he's probably got to go soon. I guess his time's probably running up. So I don't know what your future looks like, but it doesn't look very fun over there. But leave us with it. You can close us out. So however you want to close us out, whatever you want to leave the viewers with, close us down.
All right. So, I've got a philosophy of life, and it includes 10 F's. So, you can think of F words like fun and family and faith. And I'd suggest that you sit down and lay out, 5 or 10 words that are your priorities in life and follow those. And every couple of months, do a checkup. How am I doing on the family? How am I doing on the fun? How am I doing on the fornication? How am I doing on the philanthropy?
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
but I learned that, and I left some of the jobs I had because they weren't checking the boxes. So it's not all about work. Unfortunately, it's not all about fun either, but it is a balance, right? So lay out a list. I did the same thing actually. When my wife was not too happy with me, we just made a list of 10 things that were really important to her, and then we checked up on that every now and again. How am I doing on those? Am I still at a 25%, or did I
Right.
manage to move the needle to 26?
I love that, man. Bryan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. If you guys are listening out there and you're interested in learning more about it, make sure you give Bryan a call or a text. Get connected with him. Like we said, we say on the show all the time, the best resource is resourcefulness, right? So to be able to go out there, connect with people, right? Expose yourself with people who have the knowledge. Go out, get that knowledge, and then implement. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.